Hello, my name is Kelly Blumen. I am a certified Zen Tangle teacher. Welcome to 15 Minutes of Zen. In these videos, I show you how to make one tangle pattern using the Zen Tangle method of teaching. This tile happens to be part of a series called Inktober 2023, where we challenge ourselves every day for 31 days to draw a little. So this is day number 7, and the tangle that was chosen is Foundabout by the Zen Tangle Company. So we're going to make this in about a 15-minute time period, and then when that is done, I will bring out a larger piece of paper where I add this to the first 6 tangles, and I'm going to make a large compilation piece by the end of the month. So I hope you can stick around after the 15 minutes. All right, I'm using a micron pen. This is a PN plastic nib, a graphite pencil for some drawing and shading, and a little blending tool called a tortillon. The tiles that I use are called bijou tiles from zentangle.com, and they are 2 inches by 2 inches. If you'd like to share your work, you can find me on Facebook at Let's Tangle. All right, this is Foundabout. So let's begin with our pencils, and we're going to put a little dot in each of the 4 corners. And then we're going to connect those dots with a line. This creates a cute little frame for our work. Okay, so Foundabout is a newer tangle that was just created, I believe, in the last 12 months, and it's so cute and so organic. So to do this one, we're going to do a series of curved lines, and I'm going to try to make mine go from this corner of the page up to the top corner. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up my pen for this one. If you want to do yours in pencil first, you can. But I'm going to go right to the bottom of the page, right outside the frame here, and I'm going to put a curved line like that. And then about halfway down, I'm going to do a curved line the opposite way. And I'm trying to make these pretty long. I want to really try to fill the space. So from this one, I'm going to go about halfway and make it go out here. And there. I've got about 7 little curves, but you can do it in less or with more. Okay, then we go back to this first one and we add an aura. So my aura is going to start out a little bit wide at the bottom, but it's going to connect at the top. Like that, almost like a little pine needle. So tight at the top and then a little bit wider at the bottom. I'm going to do that to every single one. Okay. All right, the next step of this is to make a bit of a curvy line. And so this curvy line, I'm going to show you on the back first. This curvy line, we have our little arch, is going to go in, out, and in. So it's going to go in a little, out a little, and back in. Okay, so kind of tuck in with a little curve, out with a big belly, and then in with a little curve. And we're going to do that underneath these little needles. So I'm going to go curve in, out, and back in, down to that bottom. If you feel like one of yours is too short, you can make this a little bit longer. See how I lengthened that just by adding some ink? And we can curve in, out, out, and back in. In, out, and back in. This one, if it's too short, I'm just add a little bit of length to it. In, out, and back in. Isn't that pretty? All right, there's one more piece to this. And that is we go back to that first little shape with that needle, and we made this curvy belly, and now I'm going to make just another curve, just a single curve that's going to start at this point, touch this next little leaf, and then come out the other side and down. So it's going to go like this. So it looks like it's going underneath this next little leaf shape. Then I do the next one. I start at the top of that little needle and I curve down and I stop and then I come out the other side. I go to this next one, start at the top and I do this curve and I imagine it coming out the other side. Curve down and out. Isn't that just so cute? And if you were to just look at this and try to draw it, it would be kind of tricky, but once you know the steps, you know the order in which to do them, you're very capable of making that. I'm going to do a short one over here just to fill in some space. So I'm going to do a curve that way and a curve that way. And I make that little bit of a stem. Make that one longer. And I go in, out, in, out, in. And then I make this curve on the top that goes out and comes out the other side. It's so pretty. All right, so that is Foundabout, and at this point you are welcome to change it up. I've seen it where people take this top and they make that same little curve again. There's so many things that you can do with it. You can also decorate inside of it if you would like, which I'm gonna do a little bit of right now. So I'm gonna leave this little belly area empty, and then this top curve, I'm just going to aura from point to point a couple of times and give that top leaf some striping. On the bottom one, I think I'm just going to give a little reflection to make it look rounded. So this up here, I go to the top one and I'm just adding a couple of lines and a reflection. This would be beautiful with orbs in them or more of a leaf pattern. I start at that point and I just curve my way down. Maybe on this one I'll do orbs just to change it up. Just imagine where the orb tucks under and maybe have one coming out the other side. And I like to put ink in those little extra spaces. So cute. And then I want to go back and ink in this border that I made. And I'm just lifting my pen every time it gets to a pattern. Like that. And on your border, if you want, you can put a couple of little stems or needles poking out. And if you'd like to make those kind of that leafy pattern, you can do that. It's just for fun. All right, I'm going to add some shading before we move to our larger piece. So for the shading in this one, I'm going to look at the places where they overlap. And these overlap kind of unnaturally because, you know, this half of the leaf goes over, this part goes under. So we're just going to play around a little bit with the shading and not worry too much about it. So where this stem goes over this half, I'm going to add some graphite. And where this one, oh, it goes over on this side as well, I'm sorry. So it goes over on both sides. And then this next little needle goes over on this side and this side. Let me just push that out and away. This one goes over here and over here. So it's very subtle, but look at the depth that the bottom of this tangle has versus the top. This one goes over on here and on here. This leaf goes over at these two parts. And then I just soften them and push them away from that line. On this one down here, I've got a little bit of an overlap there and a little bit of an overlap there. There we go. Then I've got my little blending tool with some graphite on it, and if I want, I can put in some small curves on this side just to round them out a bit. And I can put some on these little ones that I tucked in on the corners. And if you would like, you could do the inside of the border. So I just go right inside. I put a little bit of graphite right along that line. And then I can push that up and away from the line. And that gives that background a little bit of a shadow. So there we go. That is Foundabout by Tangle, day number 6. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, I'll zoom out a little bit. Okay, I have this 8 by 10 piece of mixed media paper. I believe it's made for like watercolor, but it's kind of thick and it's easy to draw on. And so my goal is to put all 31 tangles on this piece. And at the end of the month, if I have extra space, I'll just tuck in some more tangles where I need them. But this is what I've got going on so far. So we need to add Foundabout. And I'm trying to think of a good spot to add it. I'm thinking right here, but instead of curving it this way, I feel like I want to curve it the opposite way to give this piece a little more interest. Okay, I'm going to tuck this under for a second and zoom in. There we go. All right, let's do some Foundabout. You can put this anywhere on your paper and it will work. This one was Caro, that was from day 3. And this one is Emeritus, and that was day 6. All right, I'm gonna start with my pen. And I think I'm just gonna make it come right out the bottom and curve up. So I'm gonna curve this way first. And when you're doing these tangles, you don't want them to be so tiny that they get lost in this piece. You're gonna have enough room. This is an 8 by 10, but you should have enough room to add all of these, so don't make them too tiny. So I'm gonna go that way and that way. Oh, I wanted to angle, and it turns out I'm going that way. That's okay. We'll go over here, and then we'll do one this way. That's not how I planned it, but that's all right. Okay, the next part is thickening that little stem. I love it so far. And then we add that curved belly. If you are not comfortable making that curved belly, just make one curve like a regular leaf. It doesn't have to have that fancy little belly going on. All right, I'm gonna make each of these probably a little bit longer just because I want it to take up space. I'm gonna curve in, out, and in. I'm gonna give my nice, big, rounded stomachs. In, out, and in. I'm tucking under a previous tangle. I love it. And once I get all my little bellies done, then I'm going to do that back part, which is just a curve. So I start at the top and I curve, come out the other side and down. Curve out the other side and down. And I love when I bump into other tangles because it just kind of connects everything and brings it together. All right, do I want to do the striping or do I want to do the orbs? I think I kind of want to do the orbs. I don't know why, I just think that looks kind of cool. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these with orbs by starting in the widest area and working my way out. So I'm just doing that top section. And maybe you've got a different pattern you want to put in there. Maybe you don't want to do a pattern at all. And then I'm going to ink in the little teeny tiny spaces that are left. just some microscopic little areas that need to be filled in. I love it. And when we extend out these little points here, we could add a little curve to them if you wanted to. That's kind of cute. I'm going to add that rounded reflection on those bellies. And I'm going to put in some shading. So my shading, I'm just looking at where they overlap. So this leaf here overlaps down here a little bit, and it overlaps on this side. This one overlaps here and here. Here and here. Way over there. I'm going to take my blending tool and just add a little bit of a curve on each of those. All right, it's so beautiful. I feel like it's getting a little bit lost, so I may have to make this one again somewhere. I'm going to do that, and then I think I'm going to put one in here because I have this space and I love the shape of that. So I'm going to put one here. I'm going to do one this way and one this way. Let's see how that works. I'm going to do a stem and a stem, the belly, that outer curve and outer curve. And I'm going to do striping in this one. All right, that looks kind of cool. And then I have these extra little areas that I want to fill in because they're not big enough to add a whole tangle. And I'm going to fill them in with print top. And print top is just a spiral. So I'm just going to start with a dot somewhere. And I'm going to go around and around till I fill in an area. Look at that. Isn't that cute? I'm going to do one right here as well. And then there's another spot here. I'm just going to aura that print top as if it had another small layer. I'm going to do that down here as well. We'll do one there. And one there. And I've got extra space right here. And I can add another little aura, or I can just ink it in. And it'll just be kind of a dark background. Up here I've got room for a small one, and then I can ink in those extra areas if I want. I don't really have room down here, so I'm just going to add the ink. Now I've got some space right here and not enough room to really put a spiral, so I'm going to ink this in. And I think these up here look pretty good. I'm going to add some ink around this spot. I've got a little space here. I'm going to leave that white. Okay. Look at how we filled in this corner with some Foundabout. I kind of like how they just sort of blend and disappear into each other. I love that. right? I have all these little tiny areas in Foundabout that might be hard to put a tangle against at some point. So I'm gonna add some large orbs just to kind of fill in these areas. Or I could do some more of the print top. We'll just do a few orbs for now, and I can always add more later when I draw a tangle next to this. All right, there we go. Oh, it looks so cool. Move this out a little bit. And we have day 1, which is Be Light. We have day 2, Flame Flower. Let me find all of mine here. 3 was Caro, Sunbelt, Emeritus, Foundabout. Oh, I forgot day 5, Mayu. All right, look at how cool this is looking, you guys. I love it. I hope you're following along, and we'll see you tomorrow for day 8. Thanks, bye-bye.